Okay, so first I watched Clueless where they mentioned Marky Mark, and I was like, who is that? I had to have it explained to me back then, a long time ago. But then we watched Father Stu, and I'm like, I like Mark Wahlberg. Yep. And now I've made the connection. I think I had it in the back of my mind. Like, I did connect the dots on a subconscious level, but now we're going to talk about it.
So it says Kate Moss says she felt objectified, vulnerable, and scared during Calvin Klein shoot with Mark Wahlberg. Quote, he was very macho.
Not macho, macho.
There's a line in this article where I rolled my eyes so hard I gave myself I already kind of had a migraine, and then I read this one part of this article and I gave myself a migraine.
Is that a workplace injury?
Yes, I want to file.
I will say if she was 17, this type of photo shoot is super weird.
She was born in 74.
She said that she was
17 or 18. So she was born in 74. The shoot happened in 92, so she would have been 18, maybe, possibly 17.
That's really weird.
Yes, it is.
I'm not going to act like that's not weird.
Yep.
But that was a big thing during Calvin Klein days. Was it Brooke Shields?
Yes.
She was a teenage model for Calvin Klein?
The Brooke Shields thing is far worse. I think they had her pose topless at 12.
Yeah, very, very strange culture surrounding that brand.
The articles that I was looking at originally kept referencing her at 14. I'm like, she's not 14 in that photo. And I said, there's no way they would have allowed her to do that, right? But I had to double check.
I could be wrong. Sure. I think her mom also, I think she's one of those stories where her mom had her lie about her age so she could, continue
and
to
it
work
didn't
more.
sound like in the story she was, living with her parents or talking to her parents at all. She was living with her boyfriend and his mom.
I'm going to show people the photo first. This is one of the famous photos. Or the other one is part of the the thumbnail that we used for the waiting room. And that is what's funny is it's not like I would ever consider myself a fashion guy, but I remember that ad very vividly, and I was very young when that that came out. So it is very culturally iconic. So it says Kate Moss is visiting her 1992 Calvin Klein campaign shoot with Mark Wahlberg, saying that she has not very good memories from working with the actor. He was very macho, as you said. And it was all about him and his big entourage, Moss said. And I was just this kind of model. Well, it was his campaign.
Also,
right?
not just kind of a model. She was just a
just
clear.
The 48-year-old model reflected on the infamous shoot during her appearance on the BBC Radio 4 program Desert Island Discs, sharing that she felt completely objectified, invulnerable, and scared, having been 17 or 18 years old at the time. So first, I want to point out that you're an underwear model. Do you think it's just I'm trying to be
Was
charitable
she
here.
Before this shoot, though?
I don't know.
I don't think she was.
Think
she mentioned that she did she mistakenly went to a shoot when she was 15 where they asked her to take her top off and then asked her to take her bra off. She ran off away from them and
I think
realized
she had
she made
started,
a mistake, but I don't think she was an underwear model before this campaign.
I think she had started modeling, though.
Yeah, she was a model, of course, but she wasn't an underwear model, I think, before this campaign.
But by virtue of doing this ad, you are now doing that. That is your, it's...
that's what you...
Would they have told her that before this started?
What I find troubling about this article is that they're framing it as, during her shoot with Mark Wahlberg, he was macho doing whatever. But if you notice her next quote, I think they played on my vulnerability. I was quite young and innocent. So Calvin loved that. She actually is not tying this to the designer, where a lot of, we just said, he has a history of hiring other young, possibly, we could just say it, underage, and that's inappropriate models to be in these types of shoots. They specifically like that she was young and innocent, and in that sense, they like pairing her with this guy. Mark Wahlberg, as far as I know, didn't have any say in who was cast to do the shoot with him, right? Yeah. And I understand what she's saying. If you're young and this is a new industry and you're showing more skin than you used to, it's uncomfortable. But
how
I
much
am surprised.
older was Mark Wahlberg at the time?
He's in his 20s, right?
Probably. Yep. She says
he could be anywhere from let's say 3-4 years older to 10 years older.
I think you're right that the designer and the producers, the executives, are really to blame if she were made to feel uncomfortable or objectified, and not him.
I don't buy that she felt objectified at the time.
Well, I'm sure she felt objectified. She was a model in the 80s or 90s, right?
Let me rephrase that. I shouldn't say that I don't buy it.
I don't think she was objectified by Mark Wahlberg.
Yes. What I'm saying is that I don't know if I buy that she didn't understand the risks going in, that this is what part of her job would entail.
I think she could have. I mean, 17 or 18 years old, that's like infamous time for being like, I can handle anything, and then getting yourself in way over your head for men and women. But I do think that, like, again, they're framing this as like, because Mark Wahlberg was there, she was uncomfortable, when really, like, the entire premise of the shoot, as thought by the brand's marketing team, seems to have made her uncomfortable.
She even spoke about suffering with anxiety leading up to the shoot, which means she must have known it would have been something.
That's why I'm saying
explicit.
she did understand the risk involved as she was bedridden with anxiety over it.
I really didn't feel well at all before the shoot for like a week or two. I couldn't get out of bed, and I had severe anxiety, and the doctor gave me Valium. Well, that was I wouldn't have done that, but that masking your emotions in that case would just make it worse. But to me, you know, she completed it. She did her job. She got it done. Are they framing this now as that he's the bad guy here? Is that what I'm supposed to believe?
I hope that that's not what she intended in the recent interview, now that she's had time to reflect on it. And also, Mark Wahlberg has been asked about this as well after she first spoke about this shoot in 2012. But he didn't seem like he was apologetic or like he was being accused of anything. He was just saying, I was a little rough around the edges, doing my thing. I wasn't very worldly, let's say that. All she said was that she regretted it afterwards, and not that in the moment Mark was doing anything going out of his way to make her more uncomfortable.
Even in this, she's saying, like, I was standing with like two buff guys, like this didn't feel like me. Again, it could have been anyone who just happened to be Mark Wahlberg's campaign, is sort of the vibe I get. It's, again, not like he specifically made her uncomfortable. It's that the situation that the brand that hired her put her in that made her uncomfortable.
Is it weird to you that, like, she's describing the situation as, like, basically giving her a mental breakdown, but she's doing it for Calvin Klein, and now girls will do this for, like, Instagram likes, stuff like I'm trying to
the price has lowered.
That's
for
what I'm saying, like,
that trade-off of like your dignity or your personal comfort with yourself.
Or do you think that that the girls of today that would do this, do you think that they would feel the same? Because my cynical side says anytime I see photos like this of girls in current year, I'm just rolling my eyes thinking, like, I can't wait for the article 20 years from now when they talk about how uncomfortable that shoot made them or how uncomfortable it's made them. Or do you think that society has just changed so much that they won't have those same regrets?
I think that feminism has sort of sold to a lot of women that taking your clothes off and being photographed or videoed is empowering. And so,
but I thought sex positive feminism was like the past, and now it's only positive if there's no male aspect to it. Like, if men like it, it's bad.
I mean, that's sort of irrelevant. It's like, if you wanted to do it, whether it's because you're a sex worker or a model or an Instagram lady, like, it doesn't matter. If you choose to do it, we can all get behind you and be like, you go, girl, this is great. So I think in some ways, some of the issues, like, I can only assume because she doesn't talk about it, but she says she has anxiety leading up to this shoot. She's nervous. Like, if this is Mary's right, this is her first major, like, underwear modeling contract. She's probably never showed this much skin, been topless on set before. You know, this is a lot of stuff that she's changing, and our culture around that has changed so much that, like, it is actually not weird for us for celebrities to pose topless. In fact, they choose to do it on their personal social media accounts. I think some of our cultural attention to nudity has changed, and in large part I would cite the, like, sex positive feminist movement that told you, hey, you should take your clothes off because ultimately that's better, that's empowering.
And the thing is, we would have never gotten to this point where it's so we're so desensitized to nudity and revealing everything on social media. We wouldn't have gotten here without the beginning steps of, like, Marky Mark. Like, it seems so funny and lighthearted looking back on it, but at the time that was so culturally iconic because we weren't used to seeing something like that. And she contributed to it. I don't think she's totally responsible because of her age at the time. And it says also that she was collaborating with this friend who was a photographer who basically forced her, like, almost everything but forced her to take revealing photos she didn't want to take so that she could get booked in bigger publications. That's why she has the career she has now. Mm-hmm. But then again, that's also why she has the platform she has now to run her own talent agency, where she claims she takes great pains to make sure her models are safe and comfortable.
I mean, well, that's like a positive thing to take away from a negative experience. I would also point out here that Marky Mark didn't go on to become like a crazy, like terrible guy. Like this is his wild time in his life, and then now he's like basically just like a Catholic dad actor.
Yeah, and that's why I was wondering if he had said anything about it more recently than this interview with the Guardian, because my impression would be that he would never want anyone to think he was intentionally objectifying her.
And if the campaign is him and her, he's taking instruction from the photographer just like the other person is. He's not the one running this show.
Really, Calvin is the culprit here. That's not really. We're not like digging into that at all.
It also makes me think of like we saw the thing about J-Lo posing nude at 53, and then there was another one the other day that was like somebody posing nude on their 64th birthday. I'm like, how about we pose with our clothes? How about we show some modesty?
That's the thing. Like, we have totally. It's not
Brett
shocking.
never thought I'd see the day where Brett said modest is hottest.
I'm not. I'm saying
modest is more interesting at this point. Like, that's crazy.
True. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying like I don't really give a crap about modesty. I give a crap that they're acting like it's a revolutionary idea, like what they're doing. Like, oh my God, you're posing naked at 53. I'm like, you're airbrushing your photos at 53. Fantastic. That's. I remember because I said something where we looked at like a picture of somebody one day, and it was like Jennifer Lopez, and I made some comment about how she looked very good for her age, and Hannah Claire said like, yes, the surgery did fantastic, and I was like, well, fine then, snarky snark, Marky Mark, snarky snark, yeah. So that's it. Just leads you. I wonder if it's cultural desensitivity to stuff like this. I get frustrated with the stuff about like they didn't have any way to help my mental health, but because to me, in the end, you're responsible for your own mental health, and that's through your own decisions and your ability to make the right choices in your life. I don't like when they put the onus on other people for stuff like that. I'm not saying that the company has to ignore it completely, but I'm saying that it feels like that is always pawned off on other people now.
And it's not your mental health. It's just you did something that went against your morals, and it made you feel uncomfortable. That's called remorse.
Do you think it's
that's not a mental health crisis?
Yeah. That's a normal symptom of being a human.
Yeah.
Do you think it's her morals? Or do you think it's just...
yes, and it's something she wouldn't be willing to admit was her moral compass speaking to her at the time, because I don't think it's even acceptable to say the word morals anymore.
Are just her ability to feel comfortable in that situation physically.
It's not really about the feelings, though. She felt bad because she knew she was doing something bad.
You think that she perceived as bad, but did
people don't talk about that.
I would say bad, or I would say dangerous. Like, to be a 15-year-old girl, like she talks about this experience with like the bra catalog modeling shoot. Like, we teach you want to teach women and guys too, but like definitely girls, like, when you start to feel physically uncomfortable, when the situation doesn't feel right, you're not supposed to be there. And like modeling, it sounds like her experience in modeling basically flew in the face of that. Like the more times she put herself in uncomfortable situations, basically like she suffered from it. She felt anxious. She felt maybe ashamed. She felt like bad, but her career skyrocketed because of it. So it's constantly teaching her, over time that like your discomfort is actually driving your career. So it's worth doing things that you don't feel good about doing to make your career grow. And that's why now it sounds like she's responded by being like, I don't want other people to have to do that.
It's one of the reasons I don't like when people turn quotes, general quotes, and make it about that you can make a general quote that somebody makes about anything. Like leaving your comfort zone is a good idea in your professional career a lot of the time, because if you don't do something that if you're all you do is completely stay within the realm of what you're comfortable with, you're never going to grow and mature. In this case, this proves that you can't use the same quote for all things.
In modeling, I would hope that would mean something like an artistic, out of the box thing that you wouldn't be comfortable with, not just like being sexualized at a young age. And this is a just situation where it made her career and she profited off of it, and now she feels like complaining about it. I understand why that like people think that's really annoying, because like you made your decisions and you made your bed, lie in it, but I don't want to place all the blame on her.
So the idea that vulnerable and scared, and then Mark Wahlberg in the same headline with a quote
that's misleading. Yeah,
that
super misleading.
That categorizes him in a certain way of being macho.
Well, and I think it's
can't
intentional, right? Like he's got this, like, especially with Father Stu coming out, he is like right now kind of conservative, like he's not like super outspokenly conservative, but like he's a Catholic. He talks about going to mass all the time. Like he's now pouring financially into those endeavors and kind of creating projects that have that religious theological aspect to it. Like they are intentionally trying to have this story come up. Like Mary said, like a lot of people don't know. I like remember that he's Marky Mark, but I've never listened to, I don't really get it. Like it doesn't click for me. I know him as Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, and that wasn't our time.
Right. And so it's like they're intentionally trying to contrast like how Mark Wahlberg is operating right now with, you know, who he was when he was in his 20s, which like, it doesn't sound like he was the one who made her uncomfortable anyways, but also like, yeah, I would hope he was more mature now than he was when he was in his 20s.
Yeah, of course.
Somewhere, somehow there's a journalist sad that it wasn't Chris Pratt who did this so they could dump on him some more.
But I think it's a similar dunk. Like they're like, oh yeah, openly Christian person. Let's get it.
Bad.
Yeah, and that's what fake news is. I don't think it's just we're going to come up with some entirely fabricated story that didn't happen. It's twisting language.
Maybe it's
to frame things a certain way when you know people aren't going to read into it.
Like why doesn't Calvin Klein have to answer for this? Why isn't Calvin Klein the one saying like,
why doesn't the brand have to apologize for things?
Right.
Like they'll apologize for like political correctness missteps on social media, and then that's like a huge deal. But then this is like completely overlooked. They have ads with pregnant men now, and it's like that's all water under the bridge. Like I don't understand that. Like our new morality.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.